I looked around and I found that it's coming apart at the seams. It's a land full of battered and shattered and broken dreams. They say that evil is hunting you. But I don't know what it means. I think that I could have saved it if only I had enough time. Just a few simple words would have thrown it all back in line.
What's up, everybody? Woohoo! The stream is working. I've had all sorts of times with these streams not working sometimes. So welcome. A lot of people here live on the chat. So glad you're here. While we're getting rolling, let me know where everybody's from. I know where a lot of you are from, but I'd love to hear where everybody is tuning in on this beautiful Monday night. Tonight, let me tell you what's going to happen. And then we're just going to dive in because I've got a lot to share with you and I'm super excited. So thanks for being here. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about the gap, the production gap, the part between recording and mixing that a lot of us are missing. We can get really good at recording, we can get really good at the mixing, but it's the in-between that can get a little squirrely. And it lends to really good sounding, boring mixes. So we're going to hopefully get you down the path to solve that problem tonight. At the end, I will have something new that some of you may know about, but the bulk of you have not heard about this because it's brand new, but it is something that I'm going to sell you. So I'm going to provide a bunch of value. I don't even know how long we're going to go tonight. I'm going to keep going until I've provided as much value as I can. Then I've got something that I want you to consider maybe joining. Okay? Is that fair? I'll give you a bunch of free stuff, and then you decide if the thing at the end is worth your time. If it's not, that's fine. We can still be friends. Please come hang out on the live streams. But if it is something you're interested in, I've got a special deal, discount, all that stuff. So that's coming at the end. Fair warning. Trying to keep it all what? Transparent, is that the word? So, all right, so let's get this music out of here. That guy needs to stop singing for a minute. There we go. That was a nice fade out. Okay, so you've probably, if you're here, then you already know a little bit about what we're going to talk about. So I mentioned it already. When you first get into recording, it's really easy to get into, hey, I need to fix my mix. My mixes don't sound good. Let me figure out how to fix it. So you get plugins, you get all this stuff, and you get a little bit better. Then you realize, oh, that Joe Gilder guy's been saying get it right at the source for like 9 years. Maybe I should try to listen to that. And so you focus on the recording for a while, and the recordings get better. And that makes your mixes better. So everything's working great. But then comes a point where you're good at recordings, let's say drums, bass, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, and keyboards, and vocals. But the stuff you're producing just isn't that interesting. So it's well recorded, it's well mixed, it's technically good, but creatively it's missing. And I think that's the piece that we're missing. It reminds me of when I studied audio in college. There was an audio program I went to. They taught us all about like how to route things through this big, complicated board. We learned all about the different processors that we use, compressors and things like that. We learned how to use Pro Tools, how to record to Pro Tools, how to get everything in and then edit it and then back out again. But they never talked about mixing at all. So we get to the final class where I turn in my project and they listen and say, oh, the drums sound boxy. All right, have a nice day. And I didn't know what that meant. What does boxy mean? So I feel like we're a step past that now of we're able to get not boxy sounding drums, but is the drum part right? Should this song even have drums? Is the arrangement right? What should we put between the intro and the outro to keep this thing interesting? Okay? So, wherever you are in the journey, getting better at this is actually a part of the whole get it right at the source thing, right? The source, if I could put a word right here, the source, it includes the song, the performance, the recording, the arrangement, and a bunch of other things. But those are the big parts of it, right? That getting it right at the source means getting all of those things right. If you do, then the mix comes together and everything's great. All your favorite songs aren't your favorite because they were mixed well. They were mixed well, hopefully, but they're your favorite because of the musicianship and the production and the songwriting and the performances, right? Okay, so let's see, look in the chat. Got folks from all over. St. Lucia in the Caribbean, some folks from California. I think I saw Sam Canuck here. Folks from Brisbane, couple Australians are here. Truckee from Minneapolis, Mark Strickland from Mayetta. Gravity 1 from Denver. Martin's here. Tom's here. Hevert's here. Steve Smith's here from West Virginia. I was just in your country. We got Canada covered. Do we have any South America here? I'm sure we got a couple of Brazilians around somewhere. So I think that's enough people to get started. So I'm going to pull up a session. Now, here's what I want you to do, okay? This is going to be interactive. Now, I've done similar classes like this in like a group with people, like in a small room. So we don't have that dynamic, but we do have the chat. So if you're watching and you're streaming this, log into your account however you can to be able to engage with the chat, because I think you'll see there's a lot of good ideas that are going to pop up here. I can't keep up with them. Look at all these people there's a lot of Canadians here. Way to go, Canadians. There's a Venezuela. We've got our South America. Perfect. Okay, but what I'm going to do, especially here at the beginning, is I want you to put on your producer hat, okay? I've got a song here by one of my favorite artists of all time. And she's a friend of mine named Frankie Barranco. If you're familiar with her music, you've heard this song before, so you're going to be able to cheat a little bit. But chances are a lot of you haven't heard of it yet. So I produced an EP for Frankie last year, released about this time last year. And we're going to feature one of the songs, and we're going to take you through the whole production process. And also, if you're watching this and you're into this, click that share button and get some friends in here. We'd love to have a nice community of folks hanging out, talking about production. So if you're not familiar with Frankie, it's Frankie Barranco, Barranco. Go look her up. Don't look it up now because then it'll spoil the surprise, but write it down on your notepad. You got notes, get a pen and paper. Come on, take some notes. But look her up later. She did the song Sing Along that we did in Dueling Mixes a while back. And then that was off of this EP that I produced. We're looking at another song here today, which is really great song, and it went on a cool journey production-wise. So I'm going to give you just a minute to go get yourself something to write on. Get a notepad on your phone. Get a piece of paper and a pen. Analog, man. Because I want you to put on your producer hat. So imagine with me, someone comes in and says, hey, I've got a band. Or no, I'm a singer-songwriter. I want you to produce my EP or just a single. And let's say it's Frankie Barranco, your friend. She says, hey, I like the work that you do. I'd like you to produce a single for me. And you say, okay, let's hear the song. And this is what I'm about to play for you is the original kind of scratch tracks for this song, the very first time I heard it. And then I'm going to take you kind of on the journey of going through. So when I play this, I want you to do a couple things. Imagine that she's sitting in front of you playing this song, and start to imagine what you want to do. How do you want to produce this? What do you like about the song? You can talk about what you don't like about the song, changes you might make. It's just a guitar vocal, so everything else is open. It's open to your interpretation. Let's say you have a couple of parameters. She doesn't want it to be just a guitar vocal. She's hearing this as a more fully produced sort of thing. But other than that, she's kind of leaving it up to you, okay, to kind of hear your vision and to move out into it. So that's what we're going to have now. Now I'm going to walk you through how we produced it. You may have completely different ideas. It doesn't matter if you have the same ideas I did. This isn't a right or wrong scenario. There's no pass-fail. What I want you to do is get in the habit of doing this. A lot of us, it's easy to go listen to a fully produced song and say, oh, I know why they did that and why they did that. But to go back from the beginning and say, okay, we have this bare song. How do we grow it? How do we make it interesting and engaging? What do we record? So you got your pen and paper ready. I'm going to hit play. I'm going to let the song play all the way through. A little bit of context for the song. This album is about grief. And so that's really evident in this song. So there's this element of depth, and it's kind of hits you in the gut, and there's some sadness, and it's not a super happy chipper concept for the whole EP that this song is on. So keep that in mind as you're thinking through how you want to produce this. So I'm going to hit play. What I want you to do is take some notes and then share some of your ideas in the chat. Or if you want to take your notes in the chat, I'll let you do that as well if you're here live. But let other people know the ideas that you have of what you want to do with this song as it's playing through, and then I'll come back and we'll walk through it. That sound like a good idea? Good plan? Good. All right, here we go. I'm going to hit play, and let's do this thing.
I've been broken since you left. The shattered pieces I thought would heal pierced through my chest. It's not fine. It'll never be. So stop saying time can ever comfort me. Oh,
Just so you know, the song is called Home.
There is darkness on the brightest day, and though there's beauty here, sin's black cloud remains. Here I'm a stranger, but not for long, 'cause where I'm going I am known and loved, and I belong. Away and not okay, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Without this pain, how would I know that this broken world was never meant to be my home? Home. And not okay, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Without this pain, how would I know that this broken world was never meant to be my home?
All right. Got a lot of good suggestions in the chat. So I'm going to read a couple of them. Some ideas for people saying cello would be good. Some folks want some cajon, different types of strings. Somebody wants a slide electric. A lot of folks are hearing not full drums, but more percussion. What else? Some folks thought the acoustic guitar was too busy, could be easier. Donald wants some light overdriven electrics doing diamonds on the chorus. Mixin' Beats wants a trumpet. I mean, who doesn't want a trumpet? Harmony maybe for more thickness. It sounds thin. Can't stand just guys. Sorry, I don't know what that means. And some folks are saying stuff they would bring in throughout the song. So these are exactly the kind of ideas that you need to just kind of brainstorm. Whether you're thinking them in your head as you listen to the song over and over and over and over while you're getting ready for the session, or whether you're doing this kind of in real time as you're doing the recording process. But these are the kind of ideas. Okay, what big picture stuff are we going to do? And then kind of hone down to, okay, there's some things that I think would be cool, but then what are the things that absolutely need to happen? And let's kind of start there and go. So one point I want to make, as I go through this, I'm going to show you a lot of cool stuff that we did. This song turned out super cool, and very even fairly different from what you heard just now because of the directions that it took. But it wasn't all like I had this thing in my head, and I said, this is how it's going to be, and then we just executed that. I had a rough idea, but then we kind of let things happen, and you'll see as I show you, it's not like to be good at producing, you have to know everything beforehand. A lot of it is just having a sort of a rough idea, or even having no idea, and just starting, and then moving in a direction, and then adjusting as you go, okay? So I don't want to give the impression, because a lot of times I don't know, and I kind of start with a loose idea, and we kind of work it out. So it's not an idea of you either have it or you don't. You know exactly what should happen or you don't. Some people can do that, and my hat is off to them. I'm not one of them. But we did do a lot of fun things on this song. So the very first thing, so the way this song worked, this is the scratch tracks. So we had them just play acoustic guitar and had her sing. To a click, we determined the tempo, we figured out the arrangement, they already worked out the arrangement, I thought it worked fine. And so we go and we record drums to it, because I knew I wanted drums on the song. I wanted to have kind of a driving beat, nothing crazy, but I knew I wanted drums there. But when we got back from the drum session and we're getting ready to record bass, and I'll play all that for you in a second, there was something that was bothering me about it. I'm curious if you heard it as well. Nobody quite said it. There's a lot of comments I didn't see, but listen to remember when I talked about, if you heard the lyrics of the song, it's kind of dealing with grief, and then, so it's a kind of a heavier subject matter for the artist, right? And then listen to this and tell me if something bothers you here. Okay, there's that, and then I'll play another one and see if you can kind of guess. Here's the chorus again. Yes, the two comments I saw first. Hristro and Art Davis nailed it. It's too positive. It's too happy, right? It's got this, it's in kind of a, I think she played it on capo 2 in E. So it's technically an F sharp, but it had those open strings. It's too open. It's too happy. It doesn't match the song. Now, sometimes you can do that for like, to be ironic, right? Super happy music, super sad lyric. But that just didn't feel right. It felt too happy. And so the first thing we did, we were sitting there recording bass. And actually, let me take a step back. Let me mute these out. And let's pull in some tracks here. I'm gonna take the camera away so you can see the screen a little more. Okay. So let me pull in some of the tracks, okay? There's a lot going on. But first thing we brought in was some drums, and I'll pull in the guitars. I'll pull in one guitar, and then I'll pull in her main vocal. So actually the very first thing we decided to do was the key might need to change. She sounds like a sweet princess there, and we didn't think that actually worked. So if you remember, the key was in, it's kind of an F sharp. We said, what if we take it down a step and see how that feels? We'd already recorded drums. That's okay. Drums can stay the same. We don't need to change the key of the drums. What if we just took it down a step? So here's her vocal. You heard her singing before. Here's that chorus real quick to give you a reminder.
Oh, I am not okay.
Okay, so that's fine. But we took it down a step, and here's where we landed.
Oh, I am not okay.
Okay, so that already, it feels a little less hyper, feels a little better. It feels a little more appropriate for the song. So that's the first step we took. So add in the guitars, and we've got this.
Oh, I.
Okay, so I got ahead of myself for a second. So there's, the other thing we decided to do was lower the song a little bit, lower the key, a full step. Felt way more in her like chest voice, a little more like soulful even. And then the second thing we did was we still have it very majory at the chorus, right? It still just doesn't feel right. So I pulled out my guitar and started playing, and we decided this actually needs to be a different chord progression for the chorus. So if the song is in the key of E, let's say, the way it was written, it went to E major on the downbeat of the chorus. Oh, I am not okay. It's just very happy. So I decided, what if we go to a C sharp minor, which is the 6th minor of the chord, and that's the downbeat of the chorus. So the chorus is essentially in C sharp minor instead of E major. And it made a huge difference. So we went to C sharp minor, and then the rest of the progression I think we kept the same, but just going to C sharp minor and with some different voicings on the guitars really, really, really helped. So let me pull those up. I actually ended up recording 3 acoustics for this song. It was one of those days where I had some time to work on it, and so I just recorded them myself. So one up the middle, one left and right, different voicings. And let me mute this out. And listen to what a difference. Just these 2 changes we make, bringing it down a key and then changing it to more of a minor sound for the chorus. Completely different song. Here we go.
Oh, I am not okay, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Without this pain, how would I know that this broken world was never meant to be my home?
So those are the only chord changes we made, was just that downbeat needed to be minor, and then we got away from that open sound on the guitar. So it was recorded with like open tuning sort of sound. We got away from that. So all the guitars are capoed up and higher, so there's no openness to it. There's not that big bright ringing out of, a big E chord with no third in it. It's very, very like, it's more like in like a C voicing and a G voicing, like this. okay? So right out of the gate, we're in a much better place. So let me pull in the drums and bass. So it was funny, poor Joel who played bass on this, we did a couple takes of bass, we're like, great job, we're going to change it now. We're going to a different key and we're going to take it down a step, which all happened during that bass session. We were all there. We all knew something was wrong and we just couldn't quite put our finger on it. So somebody suggested, I think Joel suggested lowering the key, and we tried that. That felt better. Then I changed the chords and that pulled it off, and it felt so much better. So let's pull in, let me pull in the bass now so you can hear what that chorus sounds like now that we have drums and bass. Let me play you a little bit of, I'll just play that chorus again so you can hear kind of the groove we kind of settled into. Okay, here we go.
Oh, I am not okay, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Without this pain, how would I know that this broken world was never meant to be my home? There is darkness.
Okay, sorry, I kind of wanted to keep listening because it's such a pretty song. So the drums is more of a halftime feel. We're not going hyper. Tim Horsley played drums on this. Joel Bazaire played bass. Very just real straight, to the point of like you're listening and saying, oh, shouldn't there be more? And realizing, no, there shouldn't. He's a good drummer. He knows what he's doing. Let's build the production around his drum part. So this one actually, kind of when we recorded it, had a little more of a country sound to it, or like a contemporary Christian sort of sound with that big open guitar. But he played a real simple, straight groove that just worked really well with the changes we made. Super great. So one thing I want to talk about before we go any further, because I want to show you, there's a lot more tracks to show you on this. But before we go any further, I want to talk about a couple of concepts that are really crucial when you're producing something. Things that make just a huge difference in the impact we've been talking about. So obviously all the stuff I've shown you up to this point, that's just arrangement, right? That's stuff like making sure, do we go to the chorus after the second verse, or do we go straight to that kind of stuff? And then what chords are we playing? Real basic stuff, but it has a huge impact, as you can see. We're going as far up the chain as we can with a good singer, a good performance, and a good arrangement. We've worked on the arrangement to get it to where we need it to be. Now we're kind of in more producing land. But there's two big concepts I want to kind of pound into your brain a little bit. And I want you to take them and try them out on the next song that you produce, okay? So the first is this idea of the hook. If you hang around Nashville for any length of time, that's where I live, you'll hear people talking about, oh, what's the hook? What's the hook? What's the hook? What's the hook? If you go to a co-write with songwriters, they'll say, oh, we need a good hook for this. And it's pretty popular in like the hip-hop world too. They call everything a hook. So it's this idea of a hook is something, the way I kind of think of it, is something that just gets stuck in your ear. You walk away from hearing that music, you're humming that hook. And now the hook could be a vocal line, it could be a background vocal part, it could be a guitar part, it could be just a groove that's really cool and just kind of gets you sucked into the song. A hook could be anything. And what I've noticed a lot is the more hooks there are in a song, the more engaging the song is. And what I mean by that is, when I think of hook, I think mostly, it's not exclusive, but mostly I think about melody. Where is something I can hum along to? Like, for example, when Joel, that turnaround, listen to the bass line. He plays a little hook there. So there's not a written 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, but that 1, 7, 6 that he plays, that's a cool little melodic thing that he does that gives you something to listen to during that section. The idea is a lot like bluegrass music. If you ever listen to good bluegrass, there's never a dull moment. There's always something happening. So the vocalist is singing, and then she steps back for 2 bars, and then the mandolin comes in and plays a little riff, and it's super cool. And you're thinking, oh, that's nice. And then the vocalist is singing again. So there's never a dull moment throughout the song. That's kind of what I'm going for when I produce something. I want there to be something fairly melodic happening all the time. Now, you can go too far with that. I know you're probably thinking that, Joe, that's too much. But it's actually, if you do it well, and if done well, it just makes the song interesting. You go from section to section. Right now I'm listening to the vocal. Oh, now that's a really neat guitar part. Oh, that's a cool little background vocal that just happened. And they all have these little melodies, little things that you could walk away humming while you're going out and doing whatever you're doing. You walk away from the song and it hooks into your brain and stays there, right? So someone said that was called a walk down. Yes, it was just a simple walk down, but it was something that caught your ear, something melodic. Our ears are programmed to hear melodies. Humans love stories and they love melodies. Get a song with a good story and a melody and you're in good shape. I feel as a producer, I want to match the lyric well. I want it to serve the song well, but I also want if you mute the vocal, I want the production itself to tell a story and to take you on a journey. That leads me to my second point, and this is probably the thing that if you can get this down, it really does have a big impact. So we're all used to this idea of going from verse to chorus. The chorus should be bigger, right? It should have a bigger sound. So we add more instruments, or we make the verse more sparse, and then we add things for the chorus, and that's how we get bigger. But the problem is sometimes we make the first chorus really big, and then the second chorus and the third chorus and everything else in the song sounds the same. There's no dynamic there. There's nothing added to later on to take us on a journey. So it becomes a repeat of, oh, I've heard this before. Oh, that guitar's going to play that same lick again. Yep, it did again. Nothing different has changed. So even whether you're thinking it consciously or not, you're getting bored with the song. By the time you hear the second chorus, you feel like you've heard this song before. One of the concepts that I like to think about is I like to think about verse 2. I feel like verse 2 of a typical production where it's verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, let's say, which this song kind of is. Verse 2 to me is probably one of the most important parts of the whole song. Because if they've gotten through the intro and the verse and the chorus, we've hooked them pretty good so far. We need them to stay around. And verse 2 is where a lot of people fall short. They'll make verse 2 sound exactly like verse 1. And by that point, the listener's thinking, yep, heard this song before. Even though the lyrics are different, even though there may be a few slight, small differences, it's essentially the same thing. If you clicked on the timeline between verse 1 and verse 2, if it sounds almost exactly the same, something's wrong. I think there should be something different happening in verse 2. That could mean you're adding more parts. That could mean you're taking away and breaking it down a little bit. But something needs to happen that's not in verse 1. I think of it as a triangle. If you imagine, I mentioned this on the podcast last week, if you imagine a triangle that looks like this, it's a vertical line on the left-hand side, a horizontal line across the top, and then a diagonal line connecting it together. And imagine that, go the other way. I'm trying to do it backwards. Horizontal line across the top, and to the left side, to your left, there's not much there. And then as you go through the song, more and more things are added. So up here is sparse, and then it gets bigger. I like to think of when I look at my productions, when I zoom out of the entire session, I want it to have that kind of triangle shape to it. Now, I know that sounds formulaic, but I found the songs that I feel I did the best on when I produced them are the songs that do that. Now, is there some variation in there? Sure. The intro might be huge, and then it drops back out, and then it builds through the end of the song. But there's usually some element of staying small at the front and then getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then just the last chorus usually is the most unique of them all, has the most stuff happening, and really has all the energy. So to do that, you've got to have energy in each chorus. You don't want a chorus to be boring, but you also want one chorus to leave them wanting something more that you then add for the next chorus. So with all that in mind, those are the big concepts, the things I'm thinking about as I'm going through the production process. Let's go back into the session here. So with that in mind, when thinking in terms of how can I make this hooky, how can I make it grabby, how can I make it bring in things that are going to bring interest, let's look at kind of where we went from there. So now that we've got drums and bass, we definitely want to have some electric guitars. That's kind of a given. So let's pull those in. Frankie's husband, Spencer, plays electric. He's really great at just creating these different vibes. So let's kind of look at what he did. So here's our intro. You haven't heard the intro yet with drums and bass. Let me play that for you, and then I'll bring in some of the electrics to see what we did. So, that could work by itself, but it's going to be hard to keep me engaged with acoustic guitar, drums, and bass, right? It's going to be hard to take me somewhere. That's a good place to drop back to, but it's hard to move forward, right? Someone in the chat, Tony, says, how does this work if the band is a three-piece? Sometimes these principles don't work, but if you're doing like fully producing something, even the concept of dynamics and taking the listener on a story is absolutely true no matter what you're doing. I'll go listen to John Mayer and his trio, and it's interesting, and it takes me somewhere because different things are happening throughout the song. They're not adding more parts necessarily because they can't, but they're doing something to keep it interesting, okay? So the concept's the same, the execution can be a lot different. And the idea is it is taking you somewhere. So the intro, it's great, but this is kind of the bare bones. These are the parts I knew I wanted to be there. All right, now where are we going to go from there? So the first thing, Spencer came in with a melody line for the electric, something, because right now this intro has nothing to grab you. There's nothing to hum here. It's a cool little rhythm, bum to bum to bum, but otherwise there's nothing really super hooky about it. Spencer came in with this part. Actually, no, this one. One thing, I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. One thing you're going to notice when I do if I do a class on this and show you lots and lots of examples, one thing you're going to notice is a lot of times the stuff I'm showing you isn't technically that amazing. Like most guitar players could play that. Slap on a delay, play 4 notes, and you're there. But that's not the point. The point is to play something super amazing and technically difficult. It's just to play parts that fit into the song well. So we just add that one guitar, we're starting to make this intro more interesting already. Okay, so I'm a big fan of if something's working, can we find ways to work that in elsewhere, either with another instrument or by doing it again in a different way. So we added this second guitar part. Same exact thing, just down an octave and pan to the left. We're just laying foundations. We're laying foundations, okay? And then there's a couple of electrics. I believe these are just playing out diamond chords. If you're not familiar with diamond, that's just literally playing it and holding it out. It's like a whole note, just strumming out chords. Panned out left and right, those add a lot to any production, it seems. Okay, that's starting to feel like a song, right? It's starting to feel like we're making real music. All right, so let's pull in some of the other stuff here so I can start to kind of unpack. We'll kind of go through the song and I'll walk you through how I got to where I got with each section. So we're going to build this song out kind of as we go. So that melody is super cool. So I pulled out, we've already got the melody. It's actually it's not a Kemper. It's somebody's asking if it's a Kemper amp. It's actually just I think it's a Fender. He might have played my deluxe reverb, I believe. So the next thing I thought is I love that melody. That's one of our hooks. That's our very first hook. You can walk away right now. If you stop the live stream, there's a chance you're going to be singing as you leave here. It's just a little bitty melody that's kind of sticks in your brain. So I added a Fender Rhodes part that just does it again, pan to the right. Now, is that a mind-blowing part? No, it's so simple. It's kind of embarrassing how simple it is, but added together with all the other electrics, and it's actually pretty compelling. Then with the full band. Okay, this brings me to my third thing. I knew there was a third thing I wanted to talk to you about. When you're thinking about production, I did a video on this, so you can check that out. It has to do with panning. I forget the name of the video exactly. But the idea is, when I think of what I'm going to record, so we recorded the main riff. I knew that needed to be up the middle. The next thing I record, I'm thinking, okay, that needs to be off to one side. So automatically, we've created an imbalance. We could put the second one up the middle as well, but I'm thinking in terms of width. I like to produce and think about panning while I'm producing. There's only 3 panning positions for me when I'm producing: left, middle, and right. So we got one guitar in the middle, so I made another guitar go on the left. We're out of balance. I need something on the right, and we added that. Do you always have to do it that way? No, but it's a good way to think when you're producing stuff, as you add things, you have a really cool part that's going to the left, then something needs to balance it on the right. It doesn't have to be a double. It doesn't have to be the same melody. It could be another instrument that's playing at the same time, but to give the song a balance. Now, you can use off balance to kind of add tension to a song, but you want it to resolve, right? Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Sorry for interrupting your regularly scheduled producing. So now we've got, if I zoom on out of this sucker, I think this is everything we had for the intro. So we've gone from really bright, kind of happy to something that's got some soul to it. It's got a vibe to it, okay? And now it's not playing. Here we go. So what I like to do with an intro is I want it to give me a taste of what's to come, okay? So we've got 4 electric guitars here, we've got drums, 3 acoustics, bass, and a Fender Rhodes. So there's a lot there, even though it doesn't sound super busy. But now we're going to take a lot of that away. You can just look at the guitar tracks here, and you can see the guitars are going away. They're just going to hold out chords for a while. These electrics 3 and 4 are going to play some diamonds right here, but we're dropping back to just acoustics and that Fender Rhodes sound. So that's going to give us some place to go. So we have somewhere to grow back into the chorus without it getting overproduced. Kevin has a great question. Doesn't it get overproduced at some point where you can't reproduce it live? Absolutely. And that's a part of the conversation you have to have. I like to use all of the tools I have available to me, and then when I play live, I want to make it work live. If you've ever seen a great band where they have a great, really produced album, and then they also have a great live show, chances are it's not exactly the same. I personally don't want the live show to be exactly the same as the record. I want it to sound good or even better and have all that live energy, but I don't need it to sound exactly the same. Or we're just backing ourselves into a corner to hire a really sweet, huge band to pull off this sound, and that's not the worst thing in the world. But it's a good question, kind of beyond what we're talking about here. I wanted to use every tool available to produce this well in a way that Frankie, the artist, would like, and I believe she was happy with where we landed. So we're going into verse 1. We're going to pull back and just go to just acoustic and Rhodes, drums and bass, until we get to the chorus.
I've been broken.
I lied. There's one more element here. I recorded a pad throughout the entire song. This big gray track along the bottom goes almost the whole song, and it literally just sounds like this. It's way back there. That's actually at the beginning of the song. You hear that fade in before the drums come in. Okay, sorry. That's also there. It's adding 1% to the sound, but it's just kind of interesting that it's back there somewhere.
I've been broken since you left. These shattered pieces I thought would heal, pierce through my chest. It's not fine. It'll never be. So stop saying time can ever comfort me. Oh.
So one thing to note, there's not a lot. She leaves some spaces between the words, and I didn't try to fill every space. So kind of what I was saying earlier about thinking about bluegrass, just because there's a space doesn't mean you have to fill it. I want to fill them as much as I can. But not to the point of, wow, this sounds really busy. So here, the lyrics are pretty powerful, so I wanted to leave space for you to think about it between lyrics. But then towards the end, she sings this line, so stop saying time could ever comfort me. Such a great line and a great lyric. Her whole point is time doesn't heal grief. And in bigger picture, she's like, I don't want to forget this person. Right? I don't want to be over it, right? This is a part of my life. So anyway, I wanted to accent that. So a little melody on the Rhodes to go along with her vocal made that just a little sweet little moment.
So stop saying time can ever comfort me.
I thought it played right along with her, but it played more of a harmony. So something just a little bit extra. And then we're back with the guitars coming in at the chorus. So now we're pretty much at the same production level we were for the intro, right? A couple of guitars. We're actually just to 3 guitars, drums, bass, keys.
Oh, I am not okay, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Without this pain, how would I know that this broken world was never meant to be?
So we're back in the turnaround with that same electric melody, but he adds a little bit more to it now. That little extra burning is different from what he played in the intro. That's a little bit interesting. All right, now we're into verse 2. How are we going to make verse 2 different from verse 1? Verse 1 does this.
I've been broken since.
Verse 1 is just basically pretty simple. Verse 2 needs to be different or we've broken the verse 2 rule, right? So let's see what comes in here. A couple of things. One, Spencer knew he wanted to go something rhythmic with the electric. And then we actually brought in a violin later to fill out the space. Those two things alone worked really well. So let me play those for you. Here's the electric. Ra-chon. Really simple, a lot of reverb, kind of the edge sort of sound to it. And then later on, a violin comes in. That's a real violinist it's a real boy who came into the studio to play that. Super fun. So now here's how verse 2 pans out. Just with those two changes, there may be a couple more. I'll look at it while it's playing. Yeah, something else comes in a little bit later. But just right at the outset, verse 2 already is a little more interesting.
There is darkness on the brightest day, and though there's beauty here, since black cloud remains, here I'm a stranger.
Okay, so you remember how we didn't fill in the gaps on verse 1 as much? Now we're filling them in a little more. This violin's playing ba, 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 and that's filling in the gaps between vocals. And then the electric is a little more interesting. And then the Fender Rhodes is a little more busy, like right here. So that played along with that melody she was singing. So we're starting to get a little busier. And then the second half of this verse, we actually told the drummer, like, all right, first half is real tight, and then open it up. Do something different we haven't heard before on the drums. And just listen to what Tim does. It's over the top, but it works.
Here I'm a stranger, but not for long, 'cause where I'm going I am known and loved and I belong. Oh.
So we just went somewhere way different from verse 2. Verse 2 is way different from verse 1. Listen to these drums again. And then add in like the Coldplay riff that the electric breaks into for that section. Again, super simple, right? The diamond electrics are back in as well. So we're going somewhere. It's gotten really interesting. Also, right before things start to get big, these little harmony parts come in. So I'm a big fan of using background vocals. Listen to these little cute little harmonies I had Frankie sing.
Since black cloud remains.
So that's a cool lyric, probably best lyric in the whole song. Though there's beauty here, sin's black cloud remains. So I just had her sing it, double it twice, and pan them out left and right.
And though there's beauty here, since black cloud remains, here I'm a stranger, but not for long, 'cause where I'm going I am known and loved and I belong. Oh, I.
Okay, now you can see we're going somewhere different. Chorus 1 felt great. Chorus 2, we're going somewhere different. Now, Dwayne in the chat is saying it's getting to be too much. Maybe it is. Maybe you don't like to produce this much. That's what's so great about this. It's super subjective. If this isn't right for you, great. We love the way it turned out. And that's the beauty of it. You may not like this approach at all. There's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal, but this feels pretty good to me. All right, so now we're going into a chorus. A couple of things come in here. One great way to change your choruses and to add something in is to bring in some percussion. So here's some bells and tambourine. Just real simple melody that adds a little bit of something into this chorus. You can hear it with the drums. Just a little, since he's playing such a simple beat, that gives us a little, like an eighth note rhythm underneath for that really simple beat that he's playing. So that's That's the first thing that comes in that you might hear. Then the violin. So the violin kind of raised his hand during the verses and said, all right, cool. I'm here, but now I'm going to play during the verses. So we get to during the chorus. We get to the chorus, and I said, just play something really legato and melodic that doesn't step on the vocal. What do you notice about that? It's melodic, it's hooky. If you listened during the chorus, you could hear that melody and walk away humming that one, right? There's another melody there. Sam, about those loops, I recorded them and then kind of made a loop out of them. Got a good 4 bars of me playing in time and then looped that sucker. And then the other element that we add are some more background vocals. So this is where I love working with really good singers, and I can just say, hey, can you sing this? And so I said, during the break in the chorus, sing, ah. And then what does this one do? Yeah, I just had her sing the same thing 4 times. And it just added this almost like angels coming in to sing along with you on the second chorus. So remember, here's how the first chorus went, which wasn't bad. It had energy. It felt good. Now we've gotten to chorus 2. We're bringing more people to the party. It's different. It's interesting. We're like, oh, wait, what's happening now? Oh, all right, let's listen to that.
Oh, I am not okay, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
It's gotten more interesting. Like I literally just got lost just now listening to that because it sucked me in. It hooked me, right? So between phrases on the background vocals, I said, why don't you sing this for kind of the turnaround between sections of the chorus? And then it goes back into the Sam, you're asking about that fiddle. I think the fiddle is panned off to the right a little bit. I normally go hard left and right up the middle, but I did that one just a little off to the right, so it's not quite on top of the lead vocal, but we can still hear it. I think it's off to the right a little bit. So we've just taken it to a different place. Here's the second half of that chorus again.
The other way. Without this pain, how would I know that this broken world was never meant to be my home?
Okay. Now we're getting to what's called the instrumental section. What's called, like I made that up. And yes, someone's saying Plum or Sixpence None the Richer. She definitely has a Sixpence vibe. What's Lee Nash? Absolutely. So we get to the instrumental, and originally she was just going to sing home, and it just didn't feel right. So we decided, okay, let's build this out a little bit. So the first thing we did was, the violinist was there, and I said, hey, dude, why don't you go in and play some different notes? We figured out kind of a string section part for him to play. So literally one guy just playing over and over, a couple of each part. So here he played this part twice so I could pan it left and right. I literally just had him drone that note. Then we added 2 of these. And told him just keep droning it back, whatever the proper term is, keep droning that back and forth. In the mix, I thought it wasn't quite full enough, so I added a couple of synth strings to back it up. I know that's probably heresy, don't tell him. Okay, so that's adding kind of a new pad sound to come in at the instrumental, and then he plays this lead part that's just awesome. Actually, the lead comes in a little bit later. He kind of just hangs out, holding out some legato stuff, and then gets into a lead. The first half, we bring in some background vocals. So we've already had luck with background vocals. Why not do more of it? So here's kind of how that builds out. Everything I have her sing twice, pan one left and one right. Really, really stupid simple melody. Ah, da, 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 da. So this is kind of a 3-part round thing, okay? There's essentially, you're looking at the screen. I know it's probably not super great resolution. You're seeing 6 yellow vocal tracks. The 2 on the bottom are one part, the 2 on the top are another part, the 2 in the middle are a third part, and they're all going together. And so we literally just sat there and I said, okay, what if you sang this? Ah. And then we said, okay, loop that over and over, so it's singing that same part over and over. And then in the gap between those phrases, what can we put? I know it sounds crazy and too busy, but what can we add? And I thought maybe this. Then I thought there could be one more part at the end of that. And so I had her actually sing the same melody. Remember way back at the beginning, that electric guitar part that we called the hook? That bum dum dum dum. I said, hey, just sing that. So that's the hook coming inside of these other 2 melodic hooks that are happening. We just got hooks all over the place. And so the whole part sounds like this. And then here, I just needed her to hold that note out for like a minute. And so I had her sing it twice, and then I just faded between 2 takes to get it to last long enough. I imagine she took this huge breath before she sang it, and then let it hold out for like a minute. So that's what's happening underneath, because something really cool happens here in a second. The first half of the instrumental is just kind of chill, and the second half we had the violinist just play, just like, hey, just play a solo, something really beautiful and melodic, like an actual solo. And he cranks out this thing. I mean, is that not just the best thing ever? And on top of all the other busyness that's happening, it's just really beautiful. So we're coming out of that, and there's this beautiful high note on the violin, and we actually decided to come out into a down chorus. If you're not familiar with that, it's this idea of, we go usually after a bridge, you either go back into a really big chorus or you bring it down. Or what we did here was the first half of the last chorus is down, and then we brought it back up for the second half. So another way to use dynamics to drop it back and then build it back up. So listen to this whole instrumental section with all those background vocals and that beautiful violin part with all the violin pads underneath. I know it sounds like a lot. It sounds ridiculous. Didn't take that long to do, and it just added so much. So we're coming out of that chorus, and just listen to how beautiful this instrumental is.
Broken world was never meant to be my
Okay, so a lot happens there. So we build up on this instrumental, right? That fiddle. Sorry, I'm in Nashville. We call it a fiddle. That violin is just beautiful, and it builds up into this beautiful note that's being held out, and we drop out everything but a Fender Rhodes part that I was playing. I played it just goofing around, and Frankie and Spencer both said, "Oh, that's great. Let's do it." And so we ended up having just this for that down chorus. Okay, so it's this interesting little blah 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 blah, and it just made that section so beautiful. So it drops out to just that. And And then here's a pretty traditional, hey band, I want you to build back in. So Tim comes back in on the toms. The acoustic guitars fade back in because I forgot to not play them during that section when I was recording them, or I thought they would work there and we actually dropped them out. So it all kind of starts fading back in on that second half.
But I wouldn't have it any other way without this pain.
Now here's one of the oldest tricks in the book. It works so well. You'll hear it if you've never heard it before. Now that you've heard it, you'll hear it everywhere and you'll start to use it everywhere and it'll work really well. So you take a piano, you take the next note that's coming up and you play it really, really late. Late. I just read something in the chat. You play it really, really low, like a low octave on your keyboard. So just play it in just a low piano, then you just reverse it. So you record it in like this, and then you just reverse it so it sounds like this. And that will blow up any new section, and then add reverb to it too. And it just makes, like, literally, that's the only kind of hype piece other than the drums just building in that makes that transition just give you chills.
Any other way without this pain.
That last little bit where it goes zhoop, and like you're like, hey, what just happened? But you don't care because now you're onto something new. So now we're in the last chorus. We're in the last half of the last chorus. We just built up to it. How are we going to make this maintain the energy that we just built back up into? We want to at least get to the energy of the second chorus, or maybe take it even farther. And so we ended up taking the violin part and adding something. I think it was a harmony to it. So that's what he played in the first chorus, if you might recall. I know that, or the second chorus. He played that same melody. So then, last chorus, I was like, hey, could you just play it up an octave? And he's a pro. He said, sure.
How would I know that this broken world was never meant to be?
And the other thing we did was we let those harmonies that we had back earlier, those background vocals, we brought them back in, just flew them over here, copied and pasted. So those are now happening on this chorus as well.
This pain, how would I know that this broken world was never meant to be?
And then if a reverse piano works once, you can use it again. That's what I'm saying. I think you can use it all over the place. I only use it twice. So now we're into the outro. So we're basically, everybody's here, just keep playing through the outro. So the violins keep playing and droning. The electric guitars are in. And the very last thing we recorded on this song, I believe, or one of the last things, was I told him, hey, just go play, like, use your like octave pedal or something else and go play a really high thing at the end for that last chorus in the outro that just goes just something else rhythmic, just to say that we added something new. It just needed something, one more thing to be added to the production at the end. I know it seems like overkill, but it actually, when you listen to the whole thing, it does add a little something extra there that kind of takes it over the top. So yeah, I had him hold those violins for a real long time so I could fade him out. And that's it. That is the song. Now, a couple of things. Let's zoom out a little bit and let's take a look at what does this production look like. Whoops, sorry. From a kind of an overview standpoint. If we look at it, you remember how I talked about that triangle thing? I can't draw on the screen, but imagine there's a line across the top here, a line on the far right side where the song ends, and look, we've continue to add things as we go. It's more sparse at the beginning, and we're adding things as we go. Now, does that work for every style of music and every song? No. Could you do just a guitar vocal and have it change someone's life? Yes. Jeff Buckley singing Hallelujah. It's one guitar and a vocal, and it's mind-blowing. So this isn't like a hard and fast rule, but if you're going for more fully produced, where you've got a lot of things going on and you're wanting it to kind of go there, this is the approach that I use a lot of times that seems to work really well. You'll see a common theme. If you look at the other things I've produced, it kind of has this same, not the same, it's very different. None of them sound the same, but that idea of how can I take you on a journey? Somebody in the chat a second ago was saying, wow, we're only at chorus 2 and I already feel like I've been on a journey. That's exactly what I'm trying to do, right? I'm trying to take you on a little bit of a journey to where when we get to the end of the song, you're kind of saying, oh, I can't believe it's over, right? I can't believe we've gone this far and now it's over. You stuck with me the entire time, right? So very, very fun. I mean, some people said, oh, if I did this, it would take me a year to finish a song. And it's you don't have to do it this elaborate, but this is kind of, if you want a song that hits hard like this and really takes you somewhere, then this is one of the ways to get there. Not the only way, but it's a way that's worked well for me. So here's what we're going to do. I've got something to tell you about in just a second. Let me play through the whole song. I feel like if you've stuck around this long, you've earned to listen to the song from start to finish, so you can hear, because I started and stopped it a lot. I want you to hear how the song, now that you know all the dirty little secrets of this production, let you hear the whole thing, hear how it works, hear how it all fits together, and then I want to tell you something right at the end, okay? Is that fair? All right, let me hide myself and hit play.
Pieces I thought would heal, pierce through my chest. It's not fine, it'll never be. So stop saying time can ever comfort me. Oh, I am not okay, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Just to remind you, the artist is Frankie Barranco. Go listen to her music. That EP is called Still. It is out. You can hear that song and 4 others that are just beautiful. Like, the whole thing is beautiful, not because of me, but because she's got a beautiful voice and beautiful songs and beautiful performances. One question that came up while it was playing was this all your vision, or was this a collaboration thing? It was a little bit of everything. A lot of it was their vision for the song, and then we bring musicians in and we kind of see what happens. And then a lot of the little stuff, like the reverse piano and stuff like that, comes later in the game once you've got kind of the bigger parts in place. Okay, before you go, if you would you stick around for like 5 minutes? I want to tell you about something that I think you'll like. If you like what you saw today, I want to tell you about something that maybe you don't know about, or maybe you thought you knew about it, but I'm going to tell you a little bit more. So I've been running Home Studio Corner since 2009. And my goal since I started it years ago was to help musicians who are frustrated with this stuff, who want to make music, want it to be beautiful, want it to be powerful, life-changing, all that, but they get frustrated by all the complexity involved, right? There's a lot involved, and you need a lot of guidance to get there. So in my opinion, there's two things that have to happen for you to get good at anything from mixing music to bowling. You've got bowling, and I'm not a good bowler. You need practice, obviously, but you also need training and direction. So you need practice and training. If you do one without the other, you're lost, right? I can practice guitar all day, but if I don't know what the chords are or what the notes are, I'm just practicing nothing, and I don't get anywhere. I can also study guitar all day, but if I never pick it up and actually develop calluses and learn how to move my hands and play something, that also doesn't benefit me if my goal is to be a guitarist, right? So if your goal is to make music, then you need kind of both. You need someone to guide you along the way, show you what steps there are to take. Then you got to go take them over and over and over and over and over again, right? So one of the things that I've done that I'm most proud of with Home Studio Corner is I've created a whole lot of courses that teach you everything from how to use EQ, how to use compression, things like that. You've probably seen some of those if you've hung around my world for any length of time. But another big part is called a VIP membership, where it's been this monthly deal where there's a lot of exclusive content, there's a lot of challenges, there's a forum, there's things like that. We do a challenge every month where I'm giving you something to do. I'm saying, hey, go book a paid gig, go work on this song, go reproduce this guitar vocal and make it sound amazing. And every month we get together and listen to submissions, and it's super fun and super awesome. Well, I'm rolling out something new. So up until this point, I've had VIP members have kind of been what I'm calling a VIP Silver membership, which gets you exclusive videos, the monthly challenge, the monthly live stream, discounts on my other courses, and then there's one other piece. Oh, like the forum and community. Really, really fun. I've been running that since 2011. So there's people who have literally been in there since 2011, which is crazy. But just tonight, this is the first time I've ever announced this to the public, I'm launching a VIP Gold membership. So what the Gold membership is, it's everything I've mentioned already, all the stuff, the monthly challenges that get you in the studio making music. Then you get access to all my other courses. All of them. I've created 20 courses at this point. Things like understanding EQ, understanding compression, the production club, where I walk you through from song demo to finished master. Not like this in an overview in an hour, but like 19 hours of literally step-by-step walking through it. Speed mixing, where I show you how to mix a song in an hour, if you want to do that, if you want to get faster at mixing. What else is in there? Mix practice, where you get all the multi-tracks to all the 50 plus songs I've released over the last decade, so you can practice mixing yourself, and on and on and on and on. There's stuff about recording, stuff about mixing. I'm going to actually make a course about production, which is exactly what we had tonight. More of this, like unpacking probably at least a half dozen songs the exact way we did tonight, to show you what it takes to, if you're good at recording and mixing, that kind of missing piece in the middle. So if you're interested and you want to join, I'm launching it now. The final price is going to be $495 for the year, or $45 a month, and you get access to all my courses. If you were to go buy all my courses individually right now, you'd spend, I think it came out to $1,506 maybe. So it's not cheap. This way you can get them all for a lot less than that. But I'm actually doing an introductory price this week only, through next Monday. So Monday, I think it's the 28th, through midnight that evening, you can get it for less than that. So you can get it for $385 for the year, the whole year, or $35 for the month. So there's a link on the screen, homestudiocorner.com/VIP. There's a video there that goes a little more in depth there. You can read all about it. And I encourage you to sign up. That discount's going to go away. You're going to lock in your rate forever. So If the price goes up to $1 million a month in a few months, it's not. But if it does, you'll be locked in at whatever price you pay today. Now, I know it's not cheap, right? It's not like $5. But neither is all the gear in your studio. There's a good chance you've probably spent 10 to 20 times as much on the equipment and software and plugins for your studio as what the VIP membership is going to cost you. And the VIP is the only thing that, honestly, that I think will guarantee that you get better, right? As opposed to, you can buy a new mic and it might improve things slightly. Or you can invest in getting better at using the tools you have, which is exactly what VIP does. I'm confident if you don't start making the best music of your life as a result of being in VIP, even in the next few months, I'll give you your money back. Like, for real, that's how much I believe in this. If you're willing to join me and to do the work and put in the practice, I'll give you the training, I'll give you things to practice on. If you'll do the work, I promise you'll be making the best music of your life. And if not, I'll give your money back. No risk to anybody. So that's it for the sales pitch. I love getting to do what I do with Home Studio Corner. There are a lot of folks here who've already jumped on the gold thing. Thank you. If you're interested, go to homestudiocorner.com/VIP. Pick your poison, sign up. You'll get instant access to all my courses, and you can start plowing through. Give yourself a schedule where you maybe do a video a day and start to apply what you've learned, and you're going to see improvements. It's going to be awesome. So I'm going to stick around and answer any questions you may have based on what we talked about tonight or the VIP Gold thing, or we can just hang out and do our thing, whatever you want to do. So thank you so much for being here. Feel free to take off now. Again, homestudiocorner.com/VIP. The Gold membership is brand new. This pricing is only going to be around for a week, and then it goes to the normal everyday pricing. So you can lock in your rate forever right now. So go over there. Check it out. New course idea, Understanding Joe Gilder. I don't even understand Joe Gilder, so I can't really answer that one for you. It'd be priceless, I tell you, because if someone could figure me out, that'd probably be helpful. What socks do you wear? White ones with little gray heels in them. Art Davis, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. You're live streaming tomorrow. Is that on YouTube or somewhere else? Yes, tomorrow is the regular weekly Ask Joe, Tuesdays, 1 p.m. Central. We'll get back into the normal swang of things. But thank y'all for being here. If you asked a question way earlier, there's way too many comments for me to see them. So I'll stick around and answer a few questions. Or if you can come tomorrow at 1 p.m., all I do is answer questions there. And that's super fun. Oh yeah, this is Fighter. Am I vegan? No. I like meat and eggs and cheese. Although I can't have that cheese right now. Favorite Avenger? Ooh. You know, I really like Loki. He's just handsome. And he's funny, even though he's naughty. He's not an Avenger, though, is he? Yeah, I'll be at NAMM. I'm not sure how much of Summer NAMM I'll be at, but I'll definitely go up to Winter. It's become a thing. Will this rebroadcast? Yeah, this video will be up all this week, and then I'll be taking it down because I'm talking about the gold thing, and that won't apply anymore. But, yeah, this video will be up for a while. Alex, that's totally cool, dude. Totally get it. It'll still be around, and it's still a stupid deal, so whenever you get there. On those harmony parts, is she actually harmonizing, or did she just double the parts and you panned them? Anything you see, she's sang a separate time. So doubling a part and panning it doesn't actually do anything. It's still mono. You have to have two separate performances for that to actually do anything. So yeah, it's actually her singing it twice. You can't get a double by taking a single and duplicating it. It'll never work. Not even if you delay it. Don't try it. It's not worth it. I did a video on that. Will you go to Gear Fest? I'm still trying to figure that out. I think so. They invited me to come. Are you introverted? Yeah, big time. I'm in a room by myself right now. No, really, I am very introverted. But I love people, so it's weird. When do you usually give discounts? Black Friday only in regards to mastering. Well, I don't do mastering or have any mastering courses, so... I mean, I do mastering, but I don't have any mastering courses. Perry Moises all the way from Australia. Good to see you, my friend. Glad you're here. Yes, this stuff would definitely apply to Amber's music for sure. She's got a great voice. More live concerts of the older Joe songs. Yes, I'm going to do that as well. Hawkeye is pretty awesome. I'll give you that. Alex says, I'm already a gold member and can't thank you enough. That stuff is a steal. Thank you, Alex. I'm glad you're in there. Let me know if you have any questions. Joe, what happened to that production project with Warren Hewart? Oh, well, it just hasn't happened. We're all super busy. He's probably busiest of all, but I need to write a song and just get started. So I dropped the ball. Sorry. Have you and Graham talked about simply recording podcasts at all recently? Personally, I think it might be the greatest free thing you guys do together, and I missed it greatly. Yeah, we've kind of just moved on from it. It had a good run, and we both got other things that we find more important and more just better uses of our time, if that makes sense. Because we already do so much free stuff anyway. So yeah. Do you do stand-up? No. I do videos on YouTube, and I sometimes laugh at myself. Random Man. What's up, brother? Took lots of notes. I love it. Do you ever use your Taylor? Yeah, I do for bright stuff. Open tuning stuff sometimes, for sure. It'd be fun to compare a full production Fighter and the bedroom studio one. Yeah, absolutely. By the way, so one thing I didn't mention with this gold membership, the gold members are going to get to vote. I didn't say this. You get access to any courses I release in the future as well. One of them is going to be exactly what we did tonight. And it'll be this song. It'll be Fighter, a couple of heavier songs, a couple of acoustic songs, a lot of cool stuff like that. But yeah, you'll get access to that as well. It'll be out later this year. I loved how to record better acoustic guitars and all the mixing thing. Would you do something like that for electric guitar from Mike? Yeah, I've got a course on that, which is inside the gold membership on recording electric guitar. But yeah, I'm sure I'll do something on electric on the YouTube here at some point. Any promo codes? Nope, the discount just pops. As soon as you apply it to your cart, the discount will be there. You just have to put it there. It's automatic. You should see it. Scratch out the $4.95 a year and put $3.85, or scratch out the $45 a month and put $35. Vocal lesson ideas. Don't know what you're asking. How would you go about recording instrumental songs? I tend to follow the same format in most songs. Would this be recommended? Just as long as it stays interesting. You have a little bit harder time with instrumental keeping it interesting. Because we're used to hearing a singer. So you've got work to do, but it's totally doable. Use the same concepts we talked about tonight, and it can work. There just needs to be kind of a clear lead, something I'm supposed to be listening to, generally. Do you use stereo imaging much? No, I don't. Would you do a course about Nashville charting, like a deep course about it? Yeah, absolutely. That's on the short list of courses I want to do. Something about charting specifically, and maybe general pre-production as well. Because yeah, charting is so helpful. Knowing how to chart a song really helps you produce it better. Like everything we did today in this song. How do you record banjo? You don't. You throw it away. I'm kidding. Usually like a dynamic mic, so it's not too shrill. Works pretty well. Martin Roberts, thanks for hanging out. Martin Robbins, can you make your screen full? Make your screen full. I don't. You mean my face? Well, no, because there's the link up there. I'm promoting right now. Y'all are crazy. Actually, I'm running out of time. My voice is getting a little bit shot. Any other questions I can answer real quick before I bounce up out of here? By the way, if you're showing up late or you're still on the fence, if you have questions about the gold membership, it's a great deal. And you can cancel anytime. You're not locked in. Get all my courses for one low price. Super cool. Do you plan on visiting anytime soon? I don't know what that is. Esseti. You should work up something on archiving. Banjo absolutely has its place. In a trash can. I'm kidding. Would a ribbon work? For banjo? Yeah. It could. It might be too dark. And banjos are kind of quiet. But it's worth trying. Hey, do you send an email asking for concern, a phone number? Yes, I did, and I'm still working through those. A lot of people replied, and I haven't had time to call them all. There was no cowbell in this production lesson. Nick, I'm sorry. There's an advanced version of this lesson that's just literally all cowbells. Have you seen my email yet? Hunter, probably. My inbox, I've been slammed the last couple weeks, so I will get to you, I promise. It's just going to take me a little bit. Do you shower after every video? No. Can you briefly explain what the pre-production process is and how it's different between songwriting and producing? Pre-production is where you do things like a lot of what we talked about tonight, but then also charting. Charting is where you really figure out the arrangement. That was something that was already done when we started tonight. The sections of the song, the chord progression, except for the stuff we changed, was all laid out in pre-production. That's kind of, it's where you set the tempo. It's where you record the scratch tracks, the tracks we started with tonight. That was all done in pre-production. Coke or Pepsi? Absolutely Coke. Unless it's not available, then Pepsi's great. Do you do hip-hop? I've done a little bit, but not much. Any artists you'd like to work with? I'd love to do a Foo Fighters record. Super fun. Main email address, joe@homestudiocorner.com. Have a good night. And by the way, my banjo belongs in my hands. Banjo is great. I love banjo. I can't play it, but I love it. All right, y'all. I'm out of here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and this is super fun. I'll do more of these in the future. Please, if you haven't checked it out, head to that link on the screen, homestudiocorner.com/VIP. Gold membership was made just for you. Best music of your life waiting for you. See you later.
I know you can hear